Hey everyone, GarethTheGamer here today doing a video concerning challenges in Portal, a game developed by Valve and released in 2007. Portal is one of my all-time favourite video games, and instead of doing a typical video, I decided to mix things up a little. I will challenge myself with some completely arbitrary tasks and document my findings. For clarity, I am not looking into the challenge modes that Portal provides, but rather some different challenges with some inspiration taken from these. Now, before I begin, I think establishing some solid ground rules are important. First off, no cheating and no game-breaking glitches are allowed. This includes obvious stuff like God mode and no clip, but less obvious stuff like spawning airboats, portal bumping, getting objects past emancipation fields, and out of bounds exploits. Where's the fun in challenging yourself when you're just going to cheat and nullify the challenge? I think this is a reasonable rule for the tasks I will outline soon. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking, but Gareth, portal bumping should be allowed because it's used to get the gold time in Test Chamber 16. To that I say there should be another rule. You can only fire portals on surfaces you can actually see. This means no portal bumping, but something like peek a portal is allowed. This will be relevant for one of the challenges I will try and complete. Okay, so what are the challenges I'm going to try today? Well, let's cover some trivial and nonsensical stuff first. Deathless. This is doable, as there are no circumstances where you have to die to proceed, plus with good gameplay you can beat the whole game without dying once. Bulletless. This is to beat the game without getting shot by a turret. As this is a Portal Still Alive achievement, this is doable too. No movement allowed. Inspired by Super Mario 64's No Joystick Allowed challenge, this is to beat the game without pressing any movement keys. However, since you actually cannot move outside of pressing any of the movement keys, this challenge is impossible. Which leads me to least movement key presses. I believe this one is trivial, though I haven't done a full run trying it out. You just press and hold the forward key for the duration of the whole playthrough and use mouse look and crouching to save yourself from dying, meaning you can beat the whole game in only one movement key press. No mouse look. Considering Portal is a three-dimensional game where the player has to proceed vertically at times, not being able to look up or down or turn around is a major issue for this challenge. I only made it to Test Chamber 8 before I got stuck, so it's safe to say this challenge is impossible as well. Least time, also known as a speedrun. I am not a speedrunner, so I wouldn't know how to pull off the tricks necessary to beat the game quickly. However, from my research, it seems all of the top speedruns of this game violate at least one of the rules I outlined earlier. I'm interested in seeing what the fastest time to beat Portal would be, given the rules I have specified. And last but not least, fewest footsteps. I have to go on record and say I absolutely despise the least footsteps challenge, so I won't even bother trying it in this video. If you sum up the footstep totals from the gold medal tasks, you would get a value of 350, although my best effort got 334 footsteps. Regardless, if you take this number and add it to the footsteps needed to get through the start and end of the game where the ability to use the portal gun is limited, I would estimate that it would take anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 footsteps to complete the game. Let me know what you were able to do, or if there were any improvements to my strategies that I will soon showcase in the comments section down below. So what are the challenges I will actually try today, for real? Well, here you go. The no jump or 0 A press challenge, least use key presses challenge, least boxes challenge, and of course the least portals challenge. Here are my caveats. I'm only going to count portals that are created by the player, like the least portals challenges does, and count boxes if the player interacts with them. So for example, if the player picks up a box or fires a portal underneath one, then that will count as an interaction and increment the box count. However, I will only increment this count on a per box basis, so interacting with the same box multiple times will only count as using one box. Also, the use key press challenge is the number of times the plus use command is utilised, which means picking up and dropping a box will count as 2 use key presses. In addition, I'll also count the grabbing and throwing of objects with the portal gun towards this count as well. and obviously the no jump challenge is to try and beat the game without jumping, as inspired by the Super Mario 64 A button challenge. Now, one thing you'll notice right off the bat if you choose to try any of these challenges on your own is that all of these challenges correlate with one another to start with. So for example, I can achieve least portals, boxes, jumps and use presses all in one go. However, as the game progresses, some of the strategies needed to optimise for one challenge will screw over a different challenge, so the optimum strategy for each will eventually diverge from one another. I'll show my best results for each challenge individually, as combining challenges will introduce a whole new level of complexity and is outside of the scope of this video. So let's get started. Test Chamber 00 is first and is pretty easy. We don't have the portal gun, so the portal count is 0, plus we don't need to jump to proceed, therefore the jump count is also 0. However, we need to use one box to proceed, and this requires 2 use presses to grab the box and drop it onto the button. Unfortunately, we can't push the box onto the button because of the lip of the floor the button is on, hence the need for 2 use presses. Test Chamber 01 is pretty much exactly the same, requiring 1 box and 2 use presses to complete, with no portals or jumps needed. Test Chamber 02 is where we gain access to the portal gun, the one that only fires blue portals. However, the blue portal that is automatically placed gets removed when the portal gun is obtained. Thankfully, walking into the portal gun picks it up, so no use presses are needed, as well as no jumps and boxes, but 1 portal is needed to reach the exit of the test. After this, we have Test Chamber 03, which can be beaten with no jumps, boxes and use presses, but needs 2 portals to reach the chamber lock. Test Chamber 04 requires 1 box and 1 portal to complete, with no use presses or jumps being needed. The least portals method uses 2 use presses to get the box onto the button, whereas the least use press method uses a second portal and the pushing of the box through it so it lands on the button. I think you are beginning to understand the challenges I am undertaking, therefore I will only mention parts that add to the counts for the challenges from now on. Test Chamber 05 is next, which needs 2 boxes, 4 use presses and 3 portals to complete. Everything is in the main room except for 1 portal that is needed to reach the chamber lock. After this, we have the easiest test chamber of our challenge run, Test Chamber 06, which needs a whopping 1 portal to complete. Next up is Test Chamber 07, which requires 2 portals to complete. The ending can be reached without jumping by crouching as you fall off the unstationary scaffold, which is something you can do to bypass the need to jump at times. Test Chamber 08 is the first test to introduce deadly goo, which can be circumvented with 4 portals. After this is the impossible test, Test Chamber 09, which requires 1 box and 2 portals to beat. 1 portal is to reach the higher vantage point and the other goes above the button. The box goes on the button in 0 use presses by pushing the box through the portal and hope it lands on the button. This can be tricky to set up and it took me a few tries to accomplish this, but it is possible. As a result, we don't need any use presses to beat this test, just 1 box and 2 portals. After this is Test Chamber 10, which tests your understanding of momentum. 4 portals are needed to beat the test, 1 at the start, 1 in the next room and 2 in the last room. It's hard to believe we're over halfway through the testing course and we haven't even jumped yet. Hopefully this keeps going. Test Chamber 11 is next, which requires 5 portals and 2 use presses to beat. The 5 portals are for manoeuvring around the test, 3 gets you to the dual portal gun, and with the portals disappearing upon picking up the portal gun as mentioned earlier, 2 are needed to reach the end. The 2 use presses are for activating switches that open doors to the high energy pellet and exit. Next in line is Test Chamber 12, which needs 4 portals, 1 box and 2 use presses to beat. You can fire 1 portal at the bottom area here and reuse it to save on portals. Test Chamber 13 is up next, which can be beaten with 4 portals and 1 box. This is where the diverging strategies begin. You see, the no jump strat uses more portals, but the least portals strat uses jumps and use presses. So here I use more portals but beat the test with only 1 box, 0 jumps and 0 use key presses. However, the minimum number of portals needed to beat the test is 4, as showcased here, where I use jumps and use key presses. As stated earlier, I'm not combining challenges for this video, it's just been convenient to go for all of the challenges at once so far, and this divergence will be more pronounced as the run continues. Test Chamber 14 can be beaten with only 2 portals placed in such a way as to allow the player to fling up to the top of the complimentary victory lift without completing the test as required. This doesn't violate the rules I outlined earlier, as this isn't a glitch or a cheat, but rather an oversight with the design of the test which is being exploited. Test Chamber 15 can be completed with a staggering 13 portals. 2 are needed to get by the starting area, 4 are needed here for the high energy pellet, 2 are needed... Good lord, what is happening here? The graphics are melting, the ray tracing is just too good. Save me. Okay, so after a restart, everything seems to be alright. For now. So, as I was saying, we need 2 portals to get by the starting area, another 4 for the high energy pellet section, 2 to bypass the emancipation field, 4 to get past the toxic water, and if the final portal is positioned correctly, 1 to reach the chamber lock, therefore bringing the total number of portals for this chamber to 13. The least used press, jumps and boxes run was achieved using more portals than this, so it is possible to beat this chamber without incrementing any of these counts. After this, we have the live fire course designed for military androids, Test Chamber 16, which can be beaten with only 2 portals. The least used press, boxes and jumps run uses far more portals, with turrets and other physics props being used to take out the turrets. The least portals run uses boxes and use presses, with the 2 portals being used at the end of the test to reach the exit. Hopefully you can see what I mean about this being difficult to optimise for more than one challenge at a time. So next up is Test Chamber 17, where we get the weighted companion cube and... oh no! My worst nemesis alleges that we need to jump up. But it was going so well. Yeah, our no jump challenge ends here with an unbelievable number of 4 jumps being needed just to get past this starting section. I am aware of a run done by Ivan here, which gets past this section without jumping, but this uses a glitch to get a turret past the emancipation field from the previous test chamber, which obviously violates one of the rules I have specified. So yeah, we're at 4 jumps and 1 box. We'll also be at 3 use presses, as we can push the companion cube into position to get up to the first ledge, then 2 more allows us to reach the higher ledge, then 1 more to bring the companion cube with us. At this point, the test can be completed with 1 box, that being the companion cube, 2 portals, or a total of 9 use presses. The least portal strategy uses the companion cube and security cameras from the Ratman den stacked up in such a way as to allow us to reach the exit without beating the test as required. The least use press strategy goes something like this. You use 3 use key presses at the start as previously mentioned, then deal with this high energy pellet first, then drop off the box here using 1 use key press. Then deal with the other 2 high energy pellets, which raises the platforms needed to get to the exit. We use 1 use key press to grab the box, 1 to drop it onto the button, 1 to open the incinerator and 2 to brutally murder our companion cube, bringing the total number of use presses to 9. Thankfully there is a way to beat this test without using any more jumps by leaving this high energy pellet until last. However, you have to position yourself and the companion cube on the last platform that will raise and stack up as many security cameras as you can lay your hands on in this corner. The idea is that you walk off once the platform has been fully raised, and if the security camera stack is high enough, it will allow you to clip up to the higher floor and allow you to proceed without jumping. This is very fiddly to set up, but it is doable. Or just jiggle the camera around before you walk off like Ivan does here. So all in all, this test can be beaten with 1 box, 2 portals, 4 jumps and 9 use key presses. Hopefully it doesn't get worse than this. We're nearing the end of the test chamber course now, only 2 tests to go. Test Chamber 18 tests us on all of the mechanics we have learned throughout the game, making this the most challenging test. As a fun fact, the solution for beating this chamber is the only time I ever looked up what to do in a Portal game. All because I didn't see the concrete floor here. Anyway, getting back on track, this test can be passed with 15 portals, 1 box and 3 use presses. The least portals gold medal has a portal count of 16, but I managed to find a way to save one. There's 2 portals needed at the start, then 1 can go on the ceiling of the next area. It's just barely visible and doesn't violate the rules I outline, so this is the save. Then 1 portal goes on the wall here, with another 2 being needed to reach the turret room. Now you have to fling across to the box and fire a portal in this area to get back out to the button, which needs 1 portal. The end section needs 6 portals, bringing the total portal count to 15. And it just got worse. The least use press and least jump strategy is very tricky to achieve. Allow me to demonstrate. So the start and end of the test is exactly the same, with 1 use key press being needed to activate the switch to gain access to the turret room. Now, we want to fire a portal onto the slanted platform as fast as possible without getting gunned down by the turrets, then fling across to the box. While in midair, you fire a portal close to the toxic goo, grab the box and fall into the portal. If done correctly, you will be able to get to the end section with no jumps and only 2 use presses being used, 1 for grabbing the box and 1 for dropping the box onto the button, all within the slanted platform's timer. As you may be able to tell from the footage here, I failed quite a few times. When I first did this, I wanted to do a no jump run, but mistakenly thought I could do a least portals run as well, which I didn't, so I had to do it again. Second time around, it took me a lot longer to do this, but I did at least use key press run. I can confirm that it took me 155 attempts to pull this strat off twice, so I estimate you would have about a 1% chance of pulling this strategy off successfully yourselves. So yeah, this part was hell, but I can say this test is beatable with 15 portals, 0 jumps, 1 box and 3 use key presses. Moving on, we have the final test, Test Chamber 19. Let me outline the strategy here. We obviously need 2 portals to deal with the high energy pellet and 1 use key press to activate the switch to open this door. That would be for a least portals run. For a least use key press run, simply fire the portal underneath the door and use Pika portal to fire a portal near the end of the unstationary scaffold's route. With good gameplay, you can dodge the infinite life high energy pellet without the need for portals or jumping, meaning we only need 2 portals to get to the cake. Oh wait, it's a trap! We can get to a safer vantage point with 2 portals and no jumps, and a 3rd portal gets us to the behind the scenes locales of Aperture. Here we can use physics props to climb the stairs without portals, or use portals to get to the top of the stairs without use presses or jumps. You can actually fire a portal into the next room as the door is cracked open ever so slightly, saving a use key press. We need 2 portals to get past the chain link fence, as our last fired portal is too far away for us to reach, and a use key press to open the door on the other side. Then a portal can go on the other side of one of the fans, then another portal gets us here. We need another portal to get to the catwalk, then another 2 brings us to the broken tube. The tube can be entered without jumping by using a portal, or a jump can be used to save on a portal. After the tube ride, 2 portals are needed to escape Test Chamber 09, then 2 more gets us to the pistons. With the correct positioning, you can actually fire a portal straight to the end area. Unfortunately, you have to jump for the portal to proceed, and there's no alternative, sadly adding 1 to the jump count. You can reach the level transition with 0 additional jumps with the use of portals, however a jump and a portal has to be used to reach the ledge with no additional portals. Therefore, Test Chamber 19 can be beaten with 20 portals, 1 jump and 1 use key press. This takes us to the first of the escape levels, which can be completed with 11 portals. Yeah, that's it. Let's go through why. First off, there are no boxes and no instances where we need to press the use key, so that's trivial. For the least portals, we need 2 portals to reach this area, 3 to get up to this section, 2 more gets us to the pistons room, 2 more gets us to the tubes section, and another 2 gets us to the exit, resulting in a portal count of 11. You don't need to jump in this level because you can use portals to get onto the central piston in the first room, and by using physics props to help you ascend small gaps, as demonstrated here. Physics props such as water bottles and computers can be found in the side rooms of this introductory area. You have to bring these physics props with you throughout the level because you'll need a couple for the very end. Speaking of which, this end part is very finicky. You have to walk off the tube in such a way as to land in the portal and not plummet into the toxic goo. I somehow survived a swim in this crap, which is bizarre. Thankfully, this is nowhere near as tricky as the least use key press or no jump method from test chamber 18, but still a bit of a pain to accomplish. If you can do this, then all that's left is to platform onto the physics props in such a way that you can get over the railing without jumping. So there you go, that's the first escape level done and dusted with 11 portals being utilised. The second escape level is up next, which can be completed with 9 portals and 3 use key presses. Let's take a look at the least jumps and boxes run first for a change. There are 2 parts where you may think you need to jump, here and here. The first hurdle can be crossed by manoeuvring kinda like this. It's the crouching mid-air thing I talked about earlier. The next hurdle is at the end where you have to crawl through a vent. It's too high off the ground to allow for easy access. We can, however, use a box and chairs to platform up and crawl through. The least boxes run works the same way, except you use chairs exclusively to platform up to the vent. You know, this was a strategy that I used when I first played this game in order to proceed, and it wasn't until years later that I found out that the box was indeed obtainable and was in fact the intended solution. For the least portals run, 2 are needed to bypass the claw after dealing with the turret ambush, then another 1 gets you to the upper floor. 2 more are needed to get to this higher area, then another 2 are needed to break the glass to the vent. After this, 2 more are needed to reach the level transition, bringing the total number of portals to 9. Finally, the 3 use key presses are for opening this door, pressing the switch to activate the rocket turret, and opening this door. One thing to mention is that you can knock over the standard turrets by walking into them, or using portals. This will be useful soon. Alright, onto the last level of the game, the third and final escape level. There's no boxes in this level, so the box count is 0. I'll get to the accumulated amount later. We also don't need to jump, as useful as that would be, so the jump count is at 0 too. Here's my best use key press count. 1 is needed to open this door and another 1 is needed for this door. You don't have to waste use key presses on the first GLaDOS core, but 1 is definitely needed to open the incinerator. The other GLaDOS cores, however, all require use presses to move, with the exception of the anger core. I tried walking into the cores, but they don't even budge an inch, so use key presses are fundamentally required. Therefore, that's 7 more use key presses required to defeat GLaDOS, 3 each for the Curiosity and Cake cores, and 1 for the anger core as previously stated, bringing the total use key press count to 10. The least portals goes something like this. 1 is needed to get across to the other side of the sewer, because you can use a previously placed portal from the end of the last escape level, and 1 more is needed to get out of here. Another portal is needed to start the more substantial turret ambush, with 4 more being needed to escape it. 3 more portals get you to the catwalk overlooking the area you just came from, and now for the GLaDOS encounter. 2 are needed to burn the first core, 2 for the second core, 3 for the third core, and 3 for the last core, bringing the total number of portals to 20. So with that, portal is beat, and now for the final scores. Through my best efforts, I believe that Portal is beatable with only 5 jumps, 10 boxes, 38 use key presses and 127 portals. This is looking at each challenge in isolation, so I am interested in seeing what the count would be like if challenges were combined, supposing you have an idea of which challenge should be prioritised the most. As I said near the start of the video, if you have any strategies that beats any of the counts I showcased, then please let me know. You may know something that I don't, but please consider the rules I have specified before you send me anything. After seeing some of the glitchless world record speedrun videos, I believe there is the possibility to reduce the portal count, but by how much is a question that I won't answer for now. This was a lot of fun to do and I'm shocked by these counts. I genuinely had no idea these numbers would be what they are before making this video. What is research, right? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to see me do another challenge video like this, perhaps for another game or try some different challenges for Portal. Consider buying me a coffee to help support the effort of making videos for this channel, and like, share, subscribe and all that jazz as well. I really appreciate your support. I'll see you again soon for a video concerning a new release. Yeah, it should be new and interesting. And remember, keep on trying till you run out of cake. Farewell for now.